Lieutenant Aidan Marlowe had always known the galaxy was full of mysteries, but he had never expected to meet an alien queen in a forest on a remote planet. Sephora was supposed to be just another research outpost, a new world for humans to explore, study, and settle. Its forests were thick, alive with strange colors and sounds, with trees taller than skyscrapers and leaves that glimmered faintly in the sunlight. Birds with translucent wings flitted between the branches, and tiny creatures with luminous eyes scurried across the moss-covered ground. Aidan walked carefully through the forest, his boots sinking slightly into the soft moss. He had been sent to survey the area for potential hazards. Sephora was still largely uncharted, and while the planet had no obvious signs of life capable of threatening humans, the unknown was always dangerous. His hand rested lightly on the hilt of his combat sword, a habit he had kept even during peaceful missions. Swordsmanship had been his first training before he ever learned advanced weaponry or piloting. There was something about a sword, the weight, the balance, the connection between mind and body that made him feel calm, ready, and alive. The forest was quiet. Too quiet. Even the birds seemed to pause mid-flight. Then Aidan noticed movement. At first he thought it was a trick of the light, but the glint of metal caught his eye. He froze. Ahead of him, partially hidden behind the enormous trunk of a glowing tree, stood a figure taller than any human he had ever seen. The being's armor shimmered like liquid metal, flowing over her body in smooth, reflective curves. In her hand she held a sword unlike any Aidan had ever seen. It was long, curved, and decorated with markings that seemed to pulse faintly, as if alive. The creature stepped forward, her movements graceful and deliberate. Her face, when he saw it, was both beautiful and intimidating, with sharp features and eyes that glowed like amber fire. Aidan instinctively raised his sword, his mind racing. "Who is this? Friend or foe?" Then the being spoke. "I want you to teach me." The voice was clear, strong, and perfect in the galactic standard language. It carried authority, yet also curiosity, as if she had asked this question not in anger but with genuine interest. Aidan's eyes widened. He lowered his sword slightly but remained cautious. "Teach you what?" he asked. She stepped closer, her presence commanding yet not threatening. "The way of the sword. I wish to learn from you," Aidan blinked. He had expected many things. Hostile aliens, strange creatures, dangerous anomalies, but not this. An alien, a queen no less, asking him, a human, to teach her swordsmanship. "Why me?" he asked, keeping his voice steady. The queen tilted her head slightly, considering. "Because your species wields the blade with a discipline and honor that my people do not possess. I want to understand it. I want to learn from you." Her words struck Aidan deeply. Humanity had always been underestimated in the galaxy. Other civilizations often saw humans as fragile, weak, or unrefined. Yet here was a being of immense power acknowledging something in humanity that even humans sometimes overlooked: their dedication to skill, discipline, and courage. Aidan lowered his sword completely. He studied her carefully. "I'm not sure This isn't how first contact usually goes." She smiled faintly, a gesture that seemed almost impossible on her alien face, and held out her sword. "I am willing to learn. If you teach me, I will not harm you. I promise." Aidan hesitated. There were protocols, strict rules about interacting with alien species, especially those so powerful. Yet something in her eyes convinced him that she spoke the truth. There was curiosity, intelligence, and an eagerness that reminded him of cadets he had trained back on Earth. Perhaps this was an opportunity, one that could change the way humans and aliens saw each other forever. "All right," he said finally. "I'll teach you. But we start with the basics. Balance, stance, and focus. No rushing. No shortcuts." The queen nodded. "I will do as you say." Aidan found a clearing nearby, sunlight filtering through the iridescent leaves above. He drew his sword, demonstrating a simple stance. Feet shoulder-width apart, knees slightly bent. Grip firm but not tight. The sword is an extension of your body, not just a weapon. Zalara, the queen had finally introduced herself as Zalara, mirrored his stance with astonishing precision. Her movements were fluid, almost too perfect, yet Aidan could see her concentration, the way her muscles adjusted minutely as she held the sword. "You learn quickly," he remarked, genuinely impressed. "I must," she replied simply. Time is precious. For hours they trained. Aiden demonstrated footwork, parries, and strikes. Solara copied him, then adapted, incorporating her own natural agility and strength. Every movement was precise, almost elegant, and Aiden realized she was not just learning, she was improving. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the forest floor, Aiden stepped back, wiping sweat from his brow. "You have potential," he said, "but the mind is just as important as the body. A sword can be sharp, but without discipline it is useless. You must understand patience, strategy, and honor." Solara lowered her sword. "I want to understand. Teach me these things too." The forest around them was alive with the sounds of night, yet a sense of calm hung in the clearing. Two beings from different worlds, species, and cultures stood together, sharing knowledge that could shape the future. In that moment, the galaxy felt smaller, connected by the possibility of understanding and cooperation. Aiden realized that this was more than a lesson in swordsmanship. It was a lesson in trust, respect, and curiosity. Solara had come seeking a skill, but she was also opening a door between civilizations, showing that strength was not only in power, but in learning from one another. "Tomorrow," Aiden said, "we start with footwork and defense. No mistakes. Understand?" "I understand," Solara replied. Her voice held determination, a quiet fire that made Aiden respect her even more. As he walked back to the outpost that evening, Aiden felt a strange mixture of excitement and apprehension. Humanity had met many alien species before, but none like Solara. And humanity had survived because of its courage, ingenuity, and willingness to learn. Perhaps, he thought, this was the beginning of something extraordinary. Not just a lesson in combat, but a lesson in what humans could offer to the galaxy. Back at the outpost, his colleagues noticed his unusual silence. He didn't explain much, only saying, "We've met someone important, and I'm going to teach her something she'll never forget." That night, as Aiden lay in his quarters, he could not stop thinking about Solara. He imagined her training, learning, adapting, and growing. There was a bond forming, one that crossed species, cultures, and worlds. And he knew deep in his heart that this encounter would change everything. For him, for Solara, and for humanity itself. Outside, the twin moons of Zephora glimmered above the forest, casting silver light over the trees. Somewhere in the distance, the queen practiced her stances alone, sword in hand, moving with grace and precision. And humanity's first real connection with another intelligent species had begun. Not with war, not with fear, but with a simple request. "I want you to teach me." The morning sun filtered through Zephora's glowing forest, painting the moss and trees in soft golden light. Lieutenant Aiden Marlowe stepped into the clearing, his boots crunching lightly on the undergrowth. He was carrying his sword as usual, and a small bag with practice gear. Today would be the first real test of teaching the alien queen, Solara, not just the movements of combat, but the deeper understanding that made a warrior truly formidable. Solara was already waiting, standing in the center of the clearing with her sword raised. Her posture was impeccable, her attention focused entirely on Aiden. Despite her imposing size and alien features, there was a sense of elegance in her every motion. "Good morning," Aiden said, trying to sound casual, though his heart raced with anticipation. "Today we start with footwork and balance. Remember, your stance is the foundation of everything. A sword is only as strong as the body that wields it." Solara inclined her head slightly, a gesture that felt almost like a bow. "I am ready," she said. Her voice was calm, yet it carried a strength that reminded Aiden of mountains, steady, immovable, and patient. He began slowly, demonstrating the first steps. "Move with your center of gravity. Step lightly but firmly. Shift weight without losing control. Your sword is an extension of your mind, your body, and your spirit. Every motion must flow naturally." Solara watched intently, her glowing eyes tracking each movement with precision. Then, with an elegance that seemed almost unnatural, she mirrored him. Each step was careful yet fluid, her body adjusting with a grace Aiden had rarely seen, even in the most talented human students. "Impressive," he said, stepping back. "You learn faster than I expected, but don't let speed fool you. Precision comes first." For the next few hours, Aiden taught her basic strikes and parries. He corrected her stance when her weight shifted incorrectly, showing her how to rotate her hips for power and how to anticipate an opponent's move. Solara absorbed every lesson like a sponge, asking questions when something puzzled her, and immediately correcting herself when she understood the point. "You are not just copying," Aiden noted, genuinely impressed. "You're adapting." "That is a rare skill. Many humans fail to do that. They mimic without thinking. But you think about each movement. That is what makes a warrior great." Solara's eyes glimmered. "In my world, we are taught strength and dominance. But I see now that understanding and patience create more power than brute force alone." Aiden nodded. He had expected to teach her combat, but he realized that he was learning from her as well. Her perspective was different, shaped by her species' biology, history, and instincts. She moved in ways that humans could never predict, yet she applied the logic of strategy to her movements. They paused for a moment, sitting beneath a massive tree with silver leaves that shimmered in the wind. Aiden took a deep breath. Training is not just about the body. The mind must be clear. You must focus, anticipate, and respect the weapon. A sword can teach patience, discipline, and even humility. Solara's gaze softened as she looked at him. "I understand. On my planet, we respect power, but not the patience you speak of. It seems necessary for true strength." Aiden smiled. "Exactly. Strength without control is chaos. A good swordsman must learn to control themselves before they can control the blade." The days passed quickly. Aiden continued to guide Solara through increasingly complex exercises. They practiced combinations, feints, and defensive maneuvers. Solara absorbed every lesson with astonishing speed. She moved with a confidence that grew each day, blending human techniques with her natural agility. One afternoon, as they sparred in the clearing, Aiden noticed something remarkable. Solara had begun to anticipate his attacks, not because she was copying him, but because she had internalized the principles he taught. She parried before he struck, countered with movements that were elegant yet lethal in precision, and adapted seamlessly when he changed rhythm. "Stop," Aiden said, lowering his sword. He stepped back, breathing hard. "You've surpassed my expectations. You're not just learning, you're evolving." Solara lowered her weapon, a faint smile touching her lips. "I am grateful for your teaching, but I feel there is more, something beyond technique." Aiden considered her words carefully. She was right. Swordsmanship was more than steps and strikes. It was about judgment, strategy, and understanding both oneself and one's opponent. "You're right," he said. "Tomorrow we start training the mind. You need to understand anticipation, tactics, and the spirit of combat." That evening, they walked back to the human outpost together. Sephora's twin moons cast a gentle silver light over the forest, and the air was cool and still. Some of the human scientists and soldiers watched them curiously. Whispers followed them everywhere. Humanity had never interacted so directly with a being of Solara's rank and power. Many were skeptical, but Aiden felt a quiet pride. He knew that trust was being built, one lesson at a time. The following day, the mental training began. Aiden explained the importance of observation, predicting an opponent's move and understanding their mindset. "A sword fight is a conversation," he said. "Every strike, every parry is a word. If you can read your opponent, you can predict their next move before they make it." Solara listened intently, her head tilting slightly as she absorbed the lesson. She practiced by observing birds in the forest, predicting how they would land, move, or change direction. She studied humans in the outpost, noticing small patterns in behavior and motion. Slowly, her mind adapted to thinking several steps ahead, and her movements became sharper, more deliberate. Aiden noticed a change in her demeanor. She moved with confidence, but not arrogance. She wielded the sword with grace and respect, understanding the importance of restraint. "You are learning honor as well as skill," he noted one morning. "That is the hardest part of all. A true warrior does not seek to dominate, but to act with integrity and wisdom." Solara's eyes shone with determination. "I will remember. The sword is not just a weapon, it is a teacher." Weeks passed. Training became a routine, but each session revealed new depths of ability and understanding. Solara asked questions that challenged Aiden's own perspective, making him reflect on why humans fought, trained, and valued certain principles. He realized that teaching her was more than passing on skill. It was a dialogue, a bridge between two species. One afternoon, as they sparred under the towering trees, Solara suddenly executed a complex combination Aiden had not shown her. She twirled, parried, and countered in a fluid motion that seemed almost choreographed. Aiden's jaw dropped. "Where did you learn that?" he asked, breathless. "I observed," she replied simply. I combined your teachings with my instincts. I felt the rhythm of combat and responded. Aiden felt a surge of pride. Humanity had always believed in its own adaptability, its ability to learn and overcome. Here was proof that their knowledge could extend beyond their species, shaping someone or something entirely different into a being of skill, wisdom, and honor. As the sun set, painting the forest in hues of pink and gold, Aiden and Zalara stood facing each other, swords lowered. They were no longer teacher and student in the simplest sense. They were partners exploring the limits of skill, mind, and understanding. You're ready for the next stage, Aiden said quietly. Soon you will face challenges beyond practice, real tests that will measure not just skill but judgment, courage, and honor. Zalara nodded, her expression serene yet determined. I am prepared. I trust your guidance. Teach me everything and I will honor it. Aiden felt a deep respect for her. Humanity had encountered many alien species, but few had the combination of curiosity, humility, and strength that Zalara displayed. He realized that this was more than a lesson in swordsmanship. It was the beginning of a bond that could change the galaxy. That night, as they rested in the clearing under Zyphora's twin moons, Aiden reflected on the journey so far. The alien queen had asked for knowledge, and in return, humanity was learning the true value of patience, adaptation, and trust. The forest was quiet, alive with unseen creatures, yet the sense of possibility was electric. Somewhere deep in the woods, Zalara practiced alone, repeating combinations, refining her balance, and thinking through strategies. She was no longer just a learner. She was becoming a warrior in her own right, guided by human teachings but shaped by her own instincts and wisdom. Humanity had extended a hand of knowledge and she had taken it. Together, they were forging a new path, one where understanding and cooperation could flourish even in the uncharted depths of space. And so, the lessons continued day after day, each one a step toward something greater, a connection between two worlds, a bridge between species and the promise of a future built not on fear, but on respect, honor, and shared knowledge. The forest of Zyphora was alive with strange sounds as dawn broke. Aiden Marlowe tightened the straps of his boots, his sword at his side, ready for another day of training. But today felt different. The air was tense, charged with a subtle energy that made the hairs on his arms stand on end. Something is coming, Aiden murmured to himself. He glanced at Zalara, who stood silently beside him. The queen had grown stronger, faster, and wiser since their first lessons, but this was different. Today she would face a real challenge, a test of skill, judgment, and courage that could not be replicated in practice. A low rustling echoed through the trees. Shadows shifted, and suddenly several creatures burst into the clearing. They were unlike anything Aiden had seen before. Bipedal, muscular, and agile, with thick scales and eyes that glowed faintly red. They were hostile, predatory, and fast. Aiden recognized immediately that this was not an accident. These creatures were likely scouts of a larger alien faction. Stay calm, he said to Zalara, positioning himself between her and the approaching creatures. Remember what we practiced. Focus, balance, and anticipation. Zalara nodded, her grip firm on her sword. I am ready, she replied. Her voice carried confidence, but Aiden could see the tension in her stance. This was no longer practice, it was real. The creatures attacked simultaneously. Aiden moved with precision, parrying and striking, forcing them back one by one. He glanced at Zalara and his heart swelled with pride. She met the creatures head-on, her movements flowing like water. She blocked, twisted, and countered, combining human techniques with her alien instincts. Every strike was deliberate, every movement measured. You are doing well, Aiden shouted. Predict their moves. Don't just react. Zalara's eyes narrowed. She began to anticipate the creature's attacks, moving before they lunged. She feinted, dodged, and struck with fluid precision. One creature tried to circle her, but she spun gracefully, her blade finding its mark. Another charged from the left, but she met it with a perfect parry, redirecting its momentum and forcing it back. Aiden realized that this was more than combat. Zalara was applying strategy, adapting in real time and thinking ahead. The Queen's training had transformed her from a student into a warrior capable of independent judgment. The fight raged on. The forest shook with the force of their movements, leaves and debris scattering with every swing. Aiden fought alongside her, coordinating their attacks, covering each other's weaknesses. For a moment it felt as though they were moving as one, human and alien in perfect harmony. Suddenly, one of the creatures leapt from a tree, aiming directly at Solara. Aiden reacted instinctively, stepping in, but Solara didn't falter. She twisted her body, using the momentum to redirect the creature's attack. Her blade connected with the ground, sending a shock of force that unbalanced the creature, and she countered with a swift strike that ended the threat. Aiden's eyes widened. "You've learned to trust yourself," he said, panting. "That is the true mark of a warrior. Not just skill, but confidence in your own judgment." Solara lowered her sword, her chest heaving slightly from exertion, but her eyes were steady. "I am learning not just to fight, but to think. Each movement has meaning. Each decision matters." The creatures, realizing they could not overcome the pair, retreated into the forest, disappearing as quickly as they had appeared. The clearing was quiet once more, except for the sound of their breathing. Aiden sheathed his sword, feeling a mix of relief and admiration. "You did well," he said. "Not many could handle that. You anticipated, adapted, and remained calm under pressure. That is more than technique, it is courage and wisdom." Solara looked at him, a faint smile on her lips. "I understand now why you emphasize discipline and patience. Without them, I would have failed. You have taught me more than swordsmanship. You have taught me control, strategy, and honor." Aiden nodded, placing a hand on her shoulder. "And you have taught me something as well. That knowledge and skill can cross species. That understanding can build bridges even where fear exists. Humanity's strength is not just in its technology or courage, but in its ability to teach, learn, and adapt." They walked together back to the outpost, the weight of the morning's events settling in. Soldiers and scientists watched them from a distance, whispering in awe. Humanity had faced many dangers, but the sight of a human and an alien fighting side by side, coordinating their movements flawlessly, was inspiring. It was proof that trust, respect, and shared knowledge could overcome fear and hostility. That evening, Aiden and Solara trained in a different way. They practiced scenarios where one had to defend while the other attacked, focusing on communication, timing, and improvisation. Solara's ability to think several moves ahead impressed everyone, even Aiden, who had expected her to excel physically but not so profoundly in strategy. "You have a natural talent," he said as they rested beneath the glowing trees. "But talent alone is not enough. You must continue to refine it, balance it with patience, and always act with honor." Solara nodded thoughtfully. "I feel the weight of responsibility now. Power without wisdom is dangerous. I must learn to use skill for protection, not domination." Days passed and Aiden introduced more complex challenges. He created obstacle courses that required agility and precision. He set scenarios where Solara had to make split-second decisions, balancing offense and defense, predicting outcomes, and maintaining calm under pressure. Each challenge pushed her further, and each time she succeeded, Aiden felt a growing pride. It wasn't just physical training. Aiden began teaching Solara about human culture, ethics, and the importance of diplomacy. "A sword can protect, but knowledge protects even more," he explained. "A true warrior knows when to fight and when to negotiate. That is what separates a fighter from a leader." Solara absorbed every lesson. She asked questions about human history, about past battles, and about the decisions that shaped civilizations. She wanted to understand, not just mimic. And in return, she shared stories of her own people, of traditions, values, and the importance of honor in her culture. Through these exchanges, Aiden realized that teaching her was not one-sided. They were learning from each other, building understanding between species that had once seemed impossibly distant. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the forest, a scout ship appeared in the sky. Its design was unfamiliar, sleek and dark, with weapons clearly visible. Aiden recognized it immediately. Another alien faction, possibly hostile, had arrived. He turned to Solara. "This is what we trained for," he said. "Stay focused. Remember everything we practiced. This is not a test, it's reality." Solara's expression was calm, yet her eyes glowed with determination. "I am ready," she said firmly. "We will face this together." The ship descended and figures emerged, armed, aggressive, and clearly expecting an easy victory. But Solara and Aiden moved as one, a perfect combination of human training and alien instinct. She anticipated attacks, blocked, parried, and countered with precision. Aiden coordinated with her, covering blind spots and guiding her through each engagement. By the time the battle ended, the intruders had retreated, unable to overcome the synergy of human and alien combat skills. Aiden lowered his sword, breathing heavily, and looked at Zalara. She had proven herself not just as a student but as a warrior capable of facing real threats with courage, skill, and honor. "You did it," he said quietly. "You faced your first true challenge and succeeded. That is no small accomplishment." Zalara's eyes shone. "I could not have done it without your guidance. You taught me not just to fight but to understand, anticipate, and act with honor." Aiden smiled, feeling a deep sense of pride. Humanity had always believed in its own resilience and ingenuity, and here was proof that their knowledge could be shared, adapted, and applied across species. Through teaching and trust, they had created something greater than themselves. That night, as they rested in the clearing beneath Zyphora's twin moons, Aiden reflected on the events of the day. The challenge had tested Zalara's skill, courage, and judgment, and she had passed. But more importantly, it had shown him the power of shared knowledge. Humanity had always survived by learning, adapting, and teaching, and now, for the first time, they were sharing that strength with another intelligent species. Somewhere deep in the forest, Zalara practiced alone, refining movements, anticipating attacks, and thinking through strategies. She was no longer just a student, she was a warrior, shaped by human teachings and her own instincts, ready for the challenges yet to come. And as Aiden looked up at the stars, he realized that their partnership was more than a lesson in swordsmanship. It was a bridge between worlds, a promise that cooperation, respect, and shared knowledge could overcome fear, hostility, and the unknown. The galaxy felt a little smaller, a little more connected and full of possibilities. The sun rose over the alien city of Zalara's homeworld, casting golden light on spires of shimmering metal and streets filled with citizens curious about their queen's return. Word of the Tournament of Honor had spread across star systems, and anticipation buzzed in the air. Zalara, now a champion and a symbol of discipline and wisdom, returned to her people not as a conqueror, but as a student of humanity's teachings, a bridge between worlds. Lieutenant Aiden Marlowe walked beside her, observing the city with fascination. He had traveled far from Zyphora to witness the culmination of their efforts, the moment when human guidance would influence an entire alien civilization. The streets were crowded with beings of all shapes and sizes, their eyes wide with curiosity, respect, and some skepticism. Zalara's gaze was calm, her sword sheathed at her side. She had grown in ways that went beyond physical skill. She had learned discipline, patience, and strategic thinking. The lessons Aiden had given her were not just techniques, they were principles, and she carried them with honor. As they approached the royal palace, Zalara addressed the gathered citizens. "My people," she said, her voice strong and steady, "I have learned much from my journey. I have faced challenges, tested my strength, and discovered wisdom in unexpected places. Humanity has taught me that true power comes not from dominance but from knowledge, patience, and respect." The crowd murmured, some skeptical, some amazed. Aiden stood slightly behind her, proud yet cautious, knowing that bridging two civilizations required more than words, it required action. Zalara continued, "I have seen that cooperation and understanding create strength greater than any army. I have learned that honor is the guiding force of a warrior, and that wisdom is the shield of leadership. From this day forward, we will seek alliances based on knowledge, respect, and shared purpose." The citizens listened intently. Many were alien warriors accustomed to rule through power alone. Yet Zalara's words carried a new authority, one that combined strength with insight. She was no longer just a queen, she was a leader who had learned humility, patience, and strategy from a human teacher. Aiden stepped forward, addressing the assembly. "I am Lieutenant Aiden Marlowe of the United Earth Forces. I have had the honor of teaching your queen the art of the sword, and in return I have learned from her. Humanity values courage, discipline, and honor, and we believe that these principles can unite species, guide leaders, and create a better galaxy." Some aliens whispered among themselves, surprised that a human could speak with such authority and respect. Others nodded, realizing the potential in the lessons shared. Humanity, long underestimated, had shown that knowledge could inspire change and forge peace. After the formal speeches, Zalara led Aiden through the city, introducing him to her council, warriors, and scholars. She shared the lessons she had learned, demonstrating sword techniques, tactical thinking, and principles of honor. The aliens watched intently, some eager to train, others curious how human teachings could shape their society. Over the next few days, Aiden assisted in establishing a training academy. Zalara insisted that humans be involved, teaching not only swordsmanship but also strategy, ethics, and cooperation. Together, they created a curriculum blending human and alien philosophies. It was a place where young warriors could learn skill and wisdom, where strength was guided by integrity, and where knowledge could prevent conflict before it began. One afternoon, Aiden watched Zalara train a group of young warriors. She moved among them gracefully, correcting stances, demonstrating techniques, and encouraging careful thinking. Her voice was calm but firm, guiding with authority and respect. Aiden realized that she had internalized the principles he had taught her: discipline, patience, adaptability, and honor, and was now capable of teaching them to others. Aiden reflected on the journey they had shared. Humanity's strength had always been in its courage, ingenuity, and ability to teach and learn. Here, on an alien world, those strengths had created a ripple effect, shaping leaders, influencing culture, and forging alliances. Zalara's growth was proof that humanity's values could resonate far beyond Earth. One evening, under the twin moons of Zalara's world, Aiden and the Queen stood on a high terrace overlooking the city. Lights shimmered across spires, streets, and gardens. The air was filled with the quiet hum of life, the promise of a new beginning. "You have done more than learn the sword," Aiden said quietly. "You have learned the principles behind it. You have become a leader who inspires, who guides, who teaches. Your people will follow you because of your wisdom and honor, not fear." Zalara's eyes glowed softly. "And I could not have done this without you. Your guidance showed me that strength must be balanced with patience, courage with thought, and skill with integrity. You have changed not only me but the future of my people." Aiden smiled. "And you have shown humanity that our knowledge, values, and courage can extend beyond our species. Together, we have proven that cooperation is stronger than fear, and that teaching and learning can bridge worlds." They stood in silence for a moment, the stars above reflecting their shared sense of purpose. Below, the city thrived, filled with beings ready to embrace a new era of understanding, guided by the principles of honor, discipline, and wisdom. Over the following weeks, Zalara implemented reforms across her society. Training programs were established for warriors and leaders alike, focusing on integrity, strategy, and cooperation. Diplomats from neighboring planets arrived, curious to witness the new approach to leadership. Zalara's influence began to reshape relationships across the region, emphasizing alliances built on trust, respect, and shared knowledge rather than conflict. Aiden continued to advise her, but he noticed something remarkable. Zalara had grown beyond his teachings. She made decisions with insight and clarity, anticipating challenges and responding with intelligence. The Queen, who had once asked to learn the sword, now led with a balance of strength and wisdom, showing the galaxy that humans and aliens could learn from one another and create something extraordinary. One day, Zalara invited Aiden to a ceremonial demonstration in the Academy's courtyard. Young warriors from her people, trained under the new curriculum, displayed their skills with swords, strategy, and teamwork. Their movements were precise, disciplined, and elegant. Aiden watched with pride as each student demonstrated the lessons he and Zalara had shared. "You've done this," he said quietly to her. "Your people have embraced the teachings, and they're carrying them forward. This is the real victory." Zalara's gaze softened. "The real victory is not in winning tournaments or defeating opponents. It is in shaping a future where knowledge, discipline, and honor guide action. Humanity has given me the tools to do this, and now I pass them on to others." As the ceremonial demonstration ended, the young warriors bowed to their queen, their respect evident. Aiden felt a profound sense of accomplishment. Humanity had planted a seed of understanding and cooperation on an alien world, and that seed was now growing, ready to flourish across the galaxy. That night, Aiden and Zalara stood once more on the high terrace, gazing at the stars. "Do you think we've made a difference?" Aiden asked. Zalara smiled. "We already have. The galaxy will remember this moment, not because of strength or victory, but because we chose to teach, to learn, and to act with honor. You have shown me the true meaning of courage, and together we have created a new path for my people, Humanity's legacy is here, in every mind and every sword that follows the principles we have shared. Aiden nodded, feeling the weight of their journey. Humanity had always thrived through curiosity, courage, and the willingness to share knowledge. On this distant world, their values had forged something extraordinary, an alien civilization guided by discipline, wisdom, and respect. Solara turned to him, her expression serene yet resolute. This is only the beginning. Together we have shown that understanding can overcome fear, and that cooperation can create strength far beyond what any one species could achieve alone. The future is ours to shape, and it begins now. The twin moons reflected their light across the terrace, casting a soft glow over the swords they had trained with, the city below, and the vast galaxy beyond. For the first time, Aiden realized that teaching an alien queen had not just changed one being, it had the power to change worlds. As they looked to the stars, they felt the promise of a new era, one where humanity's courage and wisdom could inspire, guide, and unite civilizations. The sword had been a teacher, the lessons had been learned, and the galaxy was ready for a future built on honor, understanding, and cooperation. And in that moment, humanity's place in the cosmos was not defined by conquest or fear, but by its ability to teach, to inspire, and to create bonds that would last across worlds and generations. Galara placed a hand on Aiden's shoulder. "Thank you. You have not only trained a queen, you have shaped the future." Aiden smiled, looking at the glowing city, the students practicing in the courtyard, and the stars above. "No," he said softly. "We shaped it together. Humanity's story is just beginning, and the galaxy will see what we can achieve." With that, the two stood side by side, swords sheathed, hearts full of purpose, and eyes turned to the endless expanse of stars. The galaxy had witnessed a new alliance, a bridge between species and the birth of a legacy built on. The galaxy was watching. News of Zalara, the alien queen trained by a human swordsman, had spread across star systems. Whispers of curiosity and skepticism followed her wherever she traveled. Some wondered if a human could really teach a being of her power. Others doubted that diplomacy and discipline could temper her strength. Yet here she was, standing at the edge of a massive arena on the neutral planet of Solara Prime, preparing to compete in the legendary Tournament of Honor. Aiden Marlowe walked beside her, adjusting his uniform and checking his sword. Unlike previous battles in the forest of Zyphera, this was a formal competition, one where victory meant more than survival. It meant recognition, respect, and the chance to show that humans and aliens could achieve greatness together. "The arena is unlike anything we've seen," Aiden said quietly, glancing at the massive structure. Its walls shimmered with protective energy fields, and crowds of beings from dozens of civilizations filled the stands, cheering, whispering, and observing. "Stay focused. Remember everything we practiced. The rules here are strict, but the principles are the same. Honor, skill, and discipline." Zalara adjusted her grip on her sword, her glowing eyes scanning the arena. "I understand. I will act with integrity and precision." The first round began with a simple but challenging test, combat against a skilled opponent of a similar size and strength. The other competitor, a tall humanoid with 4 arms, wielded dual weapons with impressive speed. Solara and Aiden stepped into the center of the arena. Aiden whispered, "Focus on anticipation. Watch their movements before reacting." The match started. Solara moved gracefully, dodging and blocking the rapid attacks. Each strike she parried was followed by a counter that demonstrated not just speed, but understanding. Her body flowed like water, turning the opponent's strength against him. Every movement reflected the lessons Aiden had taught her: balance, precision, patience, and strategic thinking. The audience watched in awe. Many expected the alien queen to overpower her opponents through brute strength, but she moved with elegance and restraint. She did not strike to dominate but to control, demonstrating a level of discipline that impressed even the most skeptical spectators. The first opponent fell, defeated not by sheer power but by intelligence and skill. Azalara lowered her sword respectfully and bowed slightly, honoring the tradition of the tournament. A murmur of approval spread through the crowd. Humanity's reputation soared. Here was proof that their teachings could inspire greatness across species. The next rounds were more difficult. Each opponent brought a unique challenge. a shapeshifter who could mimic attacks unpredictably, a telekinetic being who could manipulate objects mid-fight, and a species known for lightning-fast reflexes. Each battle tested not only Zalara's skill, but her adaptability, mental focus, and ethical decision-making. Aiden observed from the sidelines, occasionally offering subtle advice. "Remember patience," he would whisper. "Don't react out of anger. Anticipate, adapt, and use your opponent's strength wisely." Zalara applied each lesson perfectly. Against the shapeshifter, she watched patterns in the movements, predicting the next attack before it happened. Against the telekinetic, she moved in arcs and angles that minimized the effect of thrown objects, turning defense into opportunity. Against the fast species, she waited for the right moment, striking with precision rather than haste. The arena erupted with applause after each victory. Spectators were not only impressed by her alien abilities, but by her strategic mind, by the evidence that she had learned from a human teacher. Aiden felt a surge of pride, realizing that this was more than a tournament. It was a demonstration of humanity's potential, their ability to inspire, teach, and create bonds that transcended species. Between rounds, Zalara rested in a small chamber, drinking water and meditating. She reflected on each match, analyzing what worked, what could improve, and how her opponents had moved. Aiden sat nearby, offering guidance and encouragement. "You're doing better than I ever expected," he said. "But remember, the final rounds will test your heart as much as your skill. Integrity matters more than victory." Zalara nodded, her expression serious. "I will not forget. Victory without honor is meaningless." Finally, the semifinals arrived. Zalara faced an opponent known for brutal efficiency, a being from a warlike species renowned across the galaxy. He moved with speed, precision, and aggression, expecting to dominate the match. The fight began, and for a moment it seemed Zalara might struggle. The attacks came faster than she had ever experienced, but she stayed calm. She remembered the lessons: anticipate, adapt, respect the opponent, and control her own movements. She dodged, parried, and used subtle feints to create openings. Slowly, she turned defense into offense. Her strikes were clean, precise, and ethical, striking only where necessary to subdue, not harm. Aiden watched, silently cheering. "Patience, control, honor," he whispered to himself. Zalara embodied each principle, turning a difficult match into a demonstration of skill and wisdom. With a final calculated movement, she disarmed her opponent, holding her blade at the ready but showing restraint. The opponent nodded, acknowledging her skill and honor. The crowd erupted into applause, some rising to their feet. Zalara had advanced to the finals. The final match was announced. Zalara would face the reigning champion, a legendary warrior who had never been defeated in the Tournament of Honor. The arena fell silent, anticipation buzzing like electricity in the air. This was the moment that would decide her place in history and the legacy of the human who taught her. Aiden stepped beside her one last time. "Remember everything. Stay focused. Use what you've learned and trust yourself. You've trained for this." Zalara adjusted her grip on her sword and nodded. "I trust you and I trust myself. I will honor the lessons you gave me." The final match began. The champion was formidable, moving with strength, skill, and speed that seemed almost inhuman. But Zalara did not falter. She watched carefully, predicting movements, blocking attacks, and creating opportunities. Every strike was measured, every parry purposeful. The fight was intense. Sparks flew as blades clashed, and the arena echoed with the sound of metal meeting metal. Zalara remembered Aiden's teachings: honor, integrity, discipline, patience. She did not strike recklessly. She did not seek to humiliate. She fought with intelligence, combining her alien instincts with human-taught strategy. Slowly, the champion realized that brute strength alone would not win. Zalara's adaptability, patience, and precision made her a formidable opponent. She waited for the perfect moment, then executed a series of moves that disarmed the champion without causing serious harm. The audience erupted into cheers, many stunned at the display of skill and honor. Zalara lowered her sword, bowing respectfully to the champion. The gesture was met with nods of approval and admiration. She had not only won the tournament but had done so in a way that upheld the highest principles of honor. Aiden stepped forward, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You did it," he said, his voice full of pride. "You have shown the galaxy that skill, Honor and intelligence can surpass strength alone. You've made history. Solara's eyes glowed with a soft light. I could not have done this without your guidance. You taught me not only how to fight, but how to think, how to act, and how to honor my actions. Humanity has given me more than skill, it has given me perspective. The arena erupted in celebration. Spectators from across the galaxy applauded, cheered, and acknowledged the new champion. But the true story was not just Solara's victory. It was the partnership between human and alien, teacher and student, showing that cooperation, trust, and shared knowledge could achieve greatness beyond expectation. As they left the arena, Aiden and Solara stood together, looking at the crowd that had witnessed history. This is more than a win, Aiden said softly. It's proof that understanding and guidance can create connections that matter. Humanity's strength is in our courage, our ability to teach, and our willingness to learn from others. Solara nodded, her expression serene but proud. And this is only the beginning. I will carry these lessons back to my people. The galaxy will know that strength paired with honor and wisdom is the path to true leadership. That night, under the twin moons of Solara Prime, they walked together, swords sheathed, hearts full of purpose. The tournament was over, but the journey was just beginning. Humanity and alien kind had proven that together, they could face challenges, overcome fear, and achieve greatness. The stars shone above, endless and full of possibility. And for the first time, Aiden realized that teaching an alien queen had changed not just her life, but the future of the galaxy itself.